Alright, welcome back to The French Connection. Since Gene Hackman died recently a month ago, might as well do a movie of his that is pretty popular. One of his well-known movies, actually. And directed by William Friedkin, who also directed the famous movie The Exorcist, or The Exorcist, from 1973. Good stuff. Alright, so here we are in Marseille, France, with nice weather. And here we see this French guy in a brown jacket walking out, eating a sandwich, and there we see the movie's villain, Alain Charmier, played by Fernando Rey. As he walks out sporting the classic 1970 suit, with this guy who's probably his butler or his bodyguard. And so far, this guy has been following Alain. As you can tell, since the next scene, we see the same guy wearing a different jacket this time. Outside this restaurant called the Samaritain place here, which is probably French for Samaritan. Next scene, we see the same guy wearing another different jacket, I guess different days, are going by since the clothes are different each time you see this follower. Walking around here as he just walks to waste time and even grabs a baguette. And gets to his destination and he gets killed. Now back to Brooklyn, New York, and it's Christmas time, and we see Santa Claus here asking these kids what they want for Christmas. He's not some ordinary Santa Claus. And Santa Claus here spots the two guys in that restaurant, and even the ice cream vendor here has just closed up shop. And the ice cream vendor goes into what looks like a soul restaurant, or as you can tell, it's populated by black guys having a good time inside. And the ice cream vendor starts searching, and he's actually a cop. Buddy Russo, played by Roy Scheider. You know, known for Jaws, the protagonist of that movie, which comes out in 1975. And Santa Claus here is also chasing the one guy from the Soul restaurant as well, who's actually the undercover protagonist of this movie. Jimmy Popeye Doyle, played by the famous Gene Hackman. So Jimmy and Buddy are actually partners in the movie, and they chase the guy down. A lot of the police movies or even the vigilante movies you see from the 1970s always seem to take place in New York, like Shaft or the first Death Wish movie. Even the James Bond movie like Live and Let Die from 1973 also took place in New York later on. You know, New York was a gold mine in the 1970s, that's for sure. Pretty sure Foxy Brown was also New York. So Jamie is so pissed off at this guy that he's about to kill him. And asks about Joe the barber, some guy named Joe, and even asks about if this guy has been to Pooh's Keepy, or Pooh Keepsy, which is probably another resto bar, and the two take him in. So back in France, we see Alain Charmier with a blueprint for a project, now back in his car, driving to his house, and meets up with his girlfriend, and are here to give each other presents. So she gets a camera and Elaine gets a nice coat. Wow, back when presents actually meant something.
Le sommes-nous?
None.
And now back in New York with Jimmy here delivering papers and waits for Buddy to come down and wants to hang out with Buddy to have some drinks.
Pete, I'm gonna go. All right. One drink. Drink this. Whip it out.
And now at the club, and it looks like we got the 3 Degrees singing, and I thought they were the Ronettes at first, the trio from the 50s, and greets everyone. Jimmy greets everyone and looks around and spots some guys and some girls who look like they could be selling drugs, and tells Buddy that they look suspicious and says that one of the guys is a policy guy from New York, or Queens. Policy guy from Queens. And now Jimmy comes up with a plan that him and Buddy should give the guy in the suit and his blonde escort a follow around. And now back on the stakeout as Jimmy tries to talk to this girl. Yeah, rejections today are much harsher. So Jimmy and Buddy look around, spot the guy they're watching, and he sees he's met with even more people, and that's it for this night. Next scene, we see Jimmy and Buddy hiding again at 7 a.m. And following the same guy and his blonde escort at this Ratner's Dairy Shop, which is actually a real dairy shop, which closed down in 2002, meant for kosher dairy products. Yeah, it's hard to believe some of these businesses were actually real in the movies. So here we see the same guy driving around with a briefcase this time, and Jimmy and Buddy are also there still following him around, and now stops here with 2 piles of newspapers outside this restaurant. So they drive around only to see this. So it's the same Italian-looking guy in normal clothes as well as what looks like his sister. So back in France, we see Elaine again sailing at this island and walks up this castle, and we've seen the same guy that killed the follower from the beginning, communicating in French about some wannabe actor. And here comes in the wannabe actor, Henri Devereaux, and is here to accept Elaine's proposal. So back in New York, as we see Jimmy and Buddy again undercover as they finally learn the guy's name, who the two have been following, is named Salvatore Bocca, or Sal Bocca, played by Tony Lobianco, as Buddy breaks down his life history and even the girl that looks like who could be his sister that works at the restaurant is actually his 19-year-old wife.
She's only a kid. 19 according to the marriage license. 19 going on 50.
19 going on 50, funny. Oh man. Okay, and the restaurant is called Sal and Angie's. Okay, great. And back when restaurants, you can name anything. You can name anything a restaurant. Now today you gotta have like some kind of catchy name that can grab the customer's attention. So it even mentions that Sal makes $7,000 a year from this restaurant. A year. That's how affordable it was in the 70s. Looks like they weren't struggling, and also he is probably making money doing other things outside the restaurant. So don't be fooled by that loyal $7,000 a year he's been making. Okay? He doesn't look very honest. And the cars that Sal drives around one that belongs to his wife, and the other belongs to his brother, who is actually a garbage man, and is associated with Elaine Charmier. As the two now spot a black Cadillac with two guys coming out, now Buddy is face to face with Angie Bocca having lunch as Sal brings the two back in.
$50 an hour.
50 an hour. I'll do it. 200.
Nah, can't afford it.
At the back of the restaurant. So back on the hunt, Buddy mentions that Don Amici lives on the street where they're at right now, who is a kind of known actor in Hollywood if you watch Trading Places like I have, for example, the Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd movie. He's way older than that. I've seen a few of his older movies too, back when he was younger. And Buddy even mentions another guy living here, Joel Weinstock, who will come in handy later in the movie. And they continue to follow Sal around. And now another soul-themed restaurant as Jimmy pushes in this guy and makes his presence known and pushes these guys to the side, and they throw out drugs from their pockets.
Hands on your fucking head.
Get in there!
You want to take a ride there, fat man? Anybody want a milkshake?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to drink that. And now tells these guys to drop the drugs on the table, and now tells these guys, these two specifically, to go in the phone booths right now. And now spots this guy here with the afro and the sideburns and pushes him all the way to the back.
You talking to me, baby?
Yeah, I'm talking to you. Come here.
And this is kind of funny. And he's actually an informer. Okay, nice cover up there. And he will help Jimmy gain more knowledge on Sal Bocca. And tells him that a shipment will be out soon this week, which is probably drugs. And ends it off here with a punch.
Where do you want it? Oh, shit. This side.
And back at headquarters, we see Jimmy and Buddy here with the lieutenant of this precinct, arguing that there's nothing big on Sal Bocca since he's just a normal restaurant vendor or owner. And they think that there's something big on him, which is hiding in this restaurant, Sal and Angie's. And now the lieutenant agrees with the plan and wants 2 wiretaps, Jimmy does, on Sal Bocca, but he needs permission from the court to get those wiretaps. Okay, so back in France, we see Henri Devereaux giving an interview, and as usual, the press, no matter what decade we live in, always ask stupid questions as usual.
Do you agree with recent survey finding that show that Mayor Lindsay was the sexiest man in the world?
Henri Devereaux does look a lot like Jean-Paul Belmondo, the French actor from this side, if you have seen or heard of Jean-Paul Belmondo. Pretty famous too, but Alain Delon, the actor that did die recently in 2024, is the most overrated one of them all. So we're back in America, New York, and we see the same car we saw Elaine Charmier driving in, being dropped off here since it came from France. It is now being driven out, and we see Elaine here watching from far away. And back at headquarters, as we see Buddy and the lieutenant again, and even meet this Bill over here, played by Bill Hickman, who was the driver of the black car from the movie Bullet, the Steve McQueen movie in the famous car chase. And he will join the Sal Boca case, and he hates Jimmy Doyle so much from a past case, and Buddy Russo doesn't like this bill at all.
Because that's my opinion.
Shove it up your ass.
Whatever.
Now back at this bar with Jimmy waking up in the morning, and now drives around and looks like he's following this bike rider. And now back here as we see Buddy walking to Jimmy's apartment and has his own key to Jimmy's apartment and goes in. And he finds him under these piles of clothes or blankets.
He locked me up with my own cuffs.
And now Buddy looks for the key, and obviously it's a prostitute, so it makes sense of why he got his foot handcuffed to the bed. And to end it off for here,
Came with the bike.
Hi there. These yours, darling?
and next scene as we are back in France, as Elaine and his girlfriend are at this car auction as they are looking around and now calling up code numbers for cars for the best bid. And we also see Sal Boca's brother also there, the garbage man. Yeah, they are in New York actually, never mind what I said about being back in France. We're in New York, and the auctioneer is actually speaking English. Okay, next scene we hear Angie Boca yelling at Sal Boca, since Jimmy and Buddy have gotten their wiretaps that they wanted from the court to spy on the Sal Boca now. And these guys are just dying from laughter, hearing a 19-year-old girl yelling at a grown man. Funny. That's what happens when you get married, man.
Get back here now. Now bring a pizza with you.
Where am I gonna get a pizza this time of night?
Now Buddy walks back to bring some beers, and Jimmy finally listens to what they wanted to hear. To gain a lead on Sal Boca is to hear a foreigner calling Sal. And it does sound like Henri Devereaux, the wannabe actor. Okay, so on the Brooklyn Bridge, we see Jimmy, Buddy, and Bill all driving the same car, as Bill's trying to piss off Jimmy from a past case. Since Bill doesn't like him, we knew that. And they are following Sal Boca, and now they're stuck in traffic. And Jimmy gets out of the car to look for him since they lost him, as Buddy calls in the other car looking for Sal Boca. I don't know why Buddy is calling himself Cloudy here. Maybe that's just a code name for the walkie-talkie. Okay, so here we see Sal Boca walking around as he spots this guy at the back, awkward. Or maybe it's signaling he knows who Jimmy and Buddy are, that they're nearby. So Sal walks away for now, and here comes tailing in Jimmy and Buddy again. And even Sal's getting scared here that Jimmy is there too, looking at the perfume shop, and now Buddy runs after him.
Excuse me.
Funny how Buddy bumped into the movie's villain there, wow, with Sal also there meeting up with Elaine Charmier as well as bodyguard. And now Jimmy and Billy now follow Sal again. While Jimmy and Buddy follow Elaine, and now Elaine is having lunch and Jimmy is watching outside the restaurant. Now Jimmy and Buddy grab some lunch since it's super cold out, pizza. With Jimmy just watching out there in the open. That's pretty stupid and weird at the same time, eating there. While watching Elaine Charmier out in the open, like, the guy can see you, he's not stupid. But now Elaine is done eating and back to these two following him, and now Elaine is checking into this hotel. As Jimmy makes it to the elevator and asks for Elaine's name. So it's night now, and we see Jimmy still watching for Elaine Charmier, and here comes Buddy and Bill, and tells Jimmy that they're pretty much done for the night, and there's nothing much to do.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I just walked in now.
Next scene, we see this nerd over here conducting a science experiment using drugs. And Joel Weinstock is back too, and Sal are both there watching. And the science experiment is here to measure the drug's amount and how much they need, and they start to argue, pointless argument, or stupidity, And next scene, we are back at the same hotel with Jimmy arriving with Elaine Charmier already there. And this time you can see Jimmy out in the open. But Elaine plays along, since he even stops here to understand that to himself, that it's the same guy watching him from yesterday outside the restaurant. Yeah, you screwed up there, Jimmy. And now it looks like he lost Elaine now. And this music plays as he has now located Elaine again and runs all the way down here. And this music plays for the next 3 minutes. Yeah, pretty funny music. Okay. Now Elaine has made it here to take the train, and Jimmy makes it so obvious here that he's boarded the train on purpose And now the fun begins here. But before that, Jimmy calls up Bill again from headquarters. But as Elaine walks by, Jimmy pretends like he's talking to someone else, like he's some ordinary civilian of New York here. Elaine at this point is just trolling by buying this pretzel or whatever snacks he's consuming. So Jimmy's just making it so obvious. I've said that a million times now. Elaine is not stupid and knows he's being followed, but he continues to troll. And trolls. And trolls. And now the trolling comes to an end. And now I'm back with Sal Boca as he's walking here, as he buys a ticket to Washington. And we see this guy who doesn't look like he's part of the police, also following Sal Boca. I think he is a Brooklyn cop too. Maybe he was with the other car that Buddy was speaking to earlier. And now we are in Washington, and we see Elaine Charmier getting out of the cab as well, to see that Sal Boca has arrived already at Washington. So I guess that's where the two meet up, and only to know that Elaine has been followed in New York by Jimmy Doyle. And Sal needs more time for the drugs to be shipped, and we end it here. And now back on the plane, back somewhere, and yes, of course, he is flying first class, and tells his guard here that the New York police know about their drugs plan, and the guard will handle Jimmy. So back in New York, as we see a crime scene, and we see these three dead guys who look like they're part of a group or something. But here comes the crew again, as Jimmy wants more time to get Sal and Elaine. But he blew his cover, we knew that, and the lieutenant doesn't want to give him more time, since he already screwed up. And now Bill says something to piss off Jimmy.
Last time you're dead, served me up a dead copy.
Hey, hold on. Johnny, break.
So Jimmy had 2 months to work on this case, and now he's off the case. So next day we see Jimmy walking home. And there's a sniper rifle up there to kill Jimmy, and now runs inside this building, and we see him go into the roof, or onto the roof, to find the shooter. But Jimmy sees the sniper is on the floor, or on the ground, and also sees the shooter running off back down. And Jimmy runs and runs and ends up at the train station, and Jimmy spots him, and it's Elaine Charmier's guard. And now he runs after the train at the next stop. He's kind of looking like that Chuck Norris movie, Code of Silence, right now, even though it took place in Chicago. You're not getting the car back. When do you see a cop returning the car back? He needed to be on the case. Pathetic. So as a guard is now running around the train, he shoots a transit cop while Jimmy is slipping and driving. Starting to remind me of that Pelham 123 movie from the 70s as well. And now Elaine's guard has a gun pointed at the motorman. With Jimmy making pointless stops, now continues to drive as more transit cops are here with the passengers worried, and with Jimmy driving and all these cars are blocking his way. And now comes out the guard and shoots a transit cop. So the train is now forced to stop with this other train blocking it, and he spots a guard walking at the ledge, and he's finally trapped. And he kills Elaine's guard.
Hold on!
Now back at Sal and Angie's restaurant as he closed it down for the day, and we see the same blonde escort disguised this time. So the same blonde escort that was mentioned before was Angie the entire time in disguise. But Jimmy and Buddy are following again. Sal again this time, and Buddy gets off here and goes down to the underground parking lot, and we see there's a very awkward moment.
Can't seem to find the damn ticket.
Here comes the ticket guy with Sal's car, and we see Buddy running back out to tell Jimmy that Sal is in the brown Lincoln, which is the same car that Lane shipped to New York from Marseille, France, which he drove, actually. So back on the following trail, as the two have now located Sal's car, and the girl covered up in the car I've mentioned is actually Angie, the blonde escort. So they will stay here all night if they have to get to Sal Boca. And now back at night, we see these kids are playing road hockey late at night as Jimmy and Buddy are back watching. And here comes a white car, and that has been circling around for quite some time now. And they come out of the car, and Jimmy and Buddy are in Bill, and his colleague are arresting everyone else here. And these are just guys here to steal tires off of parked cars here. Okay, I don't know if tires were that valuable back then, but yeah, they're Hispanics trying to steal tires, I guess, to sell them off. So back here, as we see that they're now taking the Lincoln car apart, which Sal Boca came in, and they tear apart the car entirely to see if anything is inside it or on it. And nothing's in the car so far. So now we see Henry Devereaux, complaining that the brown Lincoln was lost from last night, which is actually his car. It was missing from his parking spot and doesn't know that the police took the car in since he came by the police garage. And Devereaux is at the same shop where Jimmy took apart the car, posing as a director for movies here. And now back to tearing the car apart more, as Buddy points out the car is overweight by looking at the papers here, what its correct weight. But the mechanic states its real weight here.
4,795 pounds.
Owner's manual says 4,675.
That the car is overweight. So they tear apart the last piece where they can find something inside it. And the drugs were inside the back bumper of the car. How stupid. They took apart the car. They didn't check the one part that was outside the car. That's police work for you. At least they know Jimmy was right, that something was inside the car.
You mean the car is here now?
Oh, yeah, it's right outside. Hey, you must lead a charming life.
And here walks in Buddy and meets Henri Devereaux. And Buddy takes Devereaux to the car, all assembled back on time in one shot. I'm guessing without the drugs inside it. And now Henri meets up with Alain Charmier again and is worried, but Alain gives him more money for this drug shipping job, but refuses since the cops are everywhere and on this car and the drugs that he implanted in the car. So Alain drives here in this open area. We see Sal Boca's brother again, the garbage man, and dismantles the bumper area of the car again. And the drugs are back there, and they stored it. And they stored in this wall here, but it's all a trap. And now the reverse happens. They use the same car and put in the owed money for the drugs into the bumper area so they can ship it back to France. Okay, smart, but not that smart, since the New York police already know their scheme. And that's it. And the Boca brothers are now happy that it's done, that they got the drugs, and the money has been owed to Alain, and he can take it back to France. And now the finale. So Sal and Alain reverse and drive backwards after seeing the New York police and Jimmy Popeye Doyle. And now a whole army of cops have made it to where Alain and Sal are hiding at, this abandoned building. And now a whole bunch of shooting as Buddy shoots Sal Boca. Final 5 minutes of the movie as Jimmy's inside looking and almost shot Buddy from the back. And we see this accidental shooting.
You shot Muldrich.
So Jimmy has shot Bill Mulderick. That's his name. Honestly, I'm surprised Jimmy isn't happy here since Mulderick never liked Jimmy. What did Bill do? Besides that, nothing serious, right? And Jimmy looks around to never again find Alain Charmier. Oh well, that's why there's a sequel for a reason for this movie, and we ended off here with this gunshot, as well as some notes. And yeah, Alain was never caught with Jimmy and Buddy, transferred to a different department. They're no longer with narcotics. They're with somewhere else now. Can't believe the movie began all with Jimmy just eyeing down Sal randomly, eventually turning into a case. Okay, that's funny. But that's it. That's the French Connection from 1971. It's okay. Never seen the sequel yet. Maybe I will someday. Too many distractions. Looks interesting. Might check it out. I will check it out. I might. That's it for me. See you soon. Point Blank from 1967. Like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Share the video. See you soon in the next episode. Take care. See you soon and watch away. and stay tuned.